I have so many questions with our Etsy and our Instagram on how to upload uh, my SVG template flower designs into Cricut uh, design space. So here it is. So now I already opened the Cricut design space, which you can have in your computers, and make sure that your cable is attached to your machine. So that really should be it. And here we go. So you see this upload image thing here? We need to click that in order to, well, basically really go to uploading it. And then again, go to upload image. And here's the browse. And this is where we need to go in order to find those files that we wanted to upload in our design space. So let's see. Mine is here, and I'm going to go to my SVG files. So like for example, I'm going to make, which one? Let's see. I have like at least 150 templates in my computer, so it's really get confusing. So let's see, for example, I want to make petal number 107. So let's click that. So if you can see, it's already here. What's really cool with SVG file is that unlike JPEG or PNG, you don't have to clean the surrounding of it. I already did the work for you. So, and it's a small file, so it's very easy to upload. And all you need to do is to save it. You have your uh, image name here, and then you can put a tag of whatever. So for this one, let's tag flowers, and it's petal 107. So I will make a different video of what's the difference of uploading JPEG in your Cricut. It's quite complicated, but as you can see, we have the SVG files here, and why would complicate things when you have the AC one? So now we already have the file name and the tags. We can now then save our uh, petal design. So let's see, it's already there. So we can now click it and then insert the image into our virtual mat. So now, as you can see, that's the size of our Cricut. And lots of you were wondering, why is it's only having one design, one template in her uh, SVG file? Well, because with SVG we really have all the freedom to resize it to the sizes that we want. So also in this tutorial, I'm gonna teach you how to resize your flowers without compromising the perfect dimension that it has when I tested it. So now, if you can see, there's a lock thing here. And I really don't recommend that you will touch it. But, because if you will, you will ruin the perfect dimension that I made exactly for this particular petal. So to resize it, mostly of the papers that we're using are A4, so it's basically like 8.5 by 11. So this is our rulers here, and as you can see, this is the 8, and we should stop up to here. But bear in mind that sometimes calibrating our machine really is very tricky. So I don't recommend that you will really to the bit largest petal that you have, that you will really extend it up to 8.5, because when you really go to your, when you will really, let's set this one as an example. It's 8.5 by 10 something, 1036. So it should work because uh, the length is 11 and this is 8.5. But we should also give a little extra room to wiggle for our cutter, because even if it's 8.5 here, when you go to your virtual mat, if you can see, it's more leaning outside 8.5 here. So let's go back to our space. Let's try to just do it into 8 by 976. So let's do that. And if you can see, even eyeing it, you can really tell that it's less than 8.5. So it's really cool to go and being cut into an A4. So it's like 8.25 by 10. And if you can imagine, earlier, our length is only 9 point something. But if you can see in your mat right now, for your cutting, virtual cutting mat, the length touches already to the 10. So that's why I recommend, when it's 8.5, don't really go into 8.5. Give a little room for the cutter to wiggle or something. And so now you have your first and large petals. And on every flower, I usually make 6 petals in every layer. So we can make 6 of this petals. And then now the problem is, how can we make the second layer, the third layer, and the fourth layer? So it's very simple. So this is your large petals. We need to click it. If you can see this square thing surrounding your petals, that means that it's selected. And then click copy here, and then your paste appear too after you click copy. So let's paste it, and now you have 2 exactly the same petals. So what is this for? Why we do that? Basically, for me, that's my trick on how to really eye the next uh, layer. So what I am doing is resizing it without touching the lock here to give it a perfect dimension of my petal. So what I'm only doing here is just resizing it smaller than what it really was. So I want to make sure that it touches to its base together for me to see if, I usually have like an inch from the previous inch smaller from the previous petal to the next layer, or an inch and a half. So it's all up to you. So now you have your second petal. By the way, before adding this second petal, if you wanted to save this one to your machine, all you need to do is go to save and like put petal 107-1. So that means that this is your first petal, and anytime that you wanted to access it, you don't have to resize it, like you first do it. So now that we have our second petal, we can now remove our first petal. So if you can see, you already have the second one, and it's 7 inches width, and then 8.5 inches long. but it's gonna be bigger than that when we get to our virtual cutter mat. If you see, it's a, excuse me, it passed uh, line 7, which is 7 inches here, and it's also almost closing towards 9 inches. So let's go back. So here we can even adjust it a little bit smaller, but I think this is fine. So we can also cut another 6 pieces of this one, and then it's time for us to get our third layer. So what we need to do is to click it. We already have the square, the rectangular thing around it, which means that it's already selected. So we will just press copy and then paste to have the same size template like we did before. And now we're going to resize it again, smaller than the other one. So it's like an inch or an inch and a half smaller. So I think that's perfect. So now we can remove our before copying and doing the smaller petal. I think it's really better if you will save it as 107-2 as your second template before you're heading into this part here. So anyway, we can now delete this, and then we can start working on this petal. So what my concern is, I really wanted to utilize the paper that we are using. So basically we are using 8.5 by 11. So regardless of how you are going to position it, you were going to position it vertically or you're going to position it horizontally. But those two petals that I was trying to do earlier, I think it should be best to cut it vertically. But now our third petal is only 5.5, which maybe 6 width, and then 7 or maybe 7 plus. So I think we can do 2 petals in one paper in here. So I will try. Let's select that again and then copy and then paste. And then let's make the fourth petal that we're going to use in our flower. Because basically, I really use, for a full bloom, I use 4 layers of different sizes petals, and each layer has 6 petals in it. So let's see. So now we have a little space, and if we're going to position our paper horizontally instead of vertical, we'll be having like 11 here by 8 inches height, 11 width, and 8 inches 8.5 inches height. So I think we can really do this to utilize our paper. Let's see how it looks like in our mat. This is what we really have to consider so much, because this is the final look on how the cutting would be on your paper. So if you're going to place your paper vertically instead of horizontally, no, sorry, if you're going to place your paper horizontally instead of vertically, this should be fine. So in one paper we can cut 2 different templates, and then all you need to do is press go and it should be cutting. So I think that should be it, and happy crafting!